I'm Cindy. I will be your host for today's session. If you are joining us for the first time, welcome. Great to have you here. And you've jumped on one of these before, welcome back, friends. Today, we're getting stuck into the MSP playbook for connectivity. Ooh, hot topic. How to stop competing on price, start selling outcome, and protect the margin retail telcos are trying to take from you. Money, money. So, for those who we haven't met, I'm Cindy. I'm the team lead for partner enablement, and today I'm joined by Ben, who is our CEO.
Hi. As I said in that
Ben,
video, what was it? I'm Ben.
hi. If you are wondering who is Host Network and what do, we are a licensed Australian wholesale cloud and telecommunication provider built exclusively for Aussie MSPs like you guys. We are 100% wholesale and channel only. So we work behind the scene to support your service delivery and growth, and we will never, ever compete with your business. Having been an MSP ourselves, we understand the day to day and commercial challenges you are dealing with, which is why everything we do here is shaped by partner feedback. That's why we go to conferences and stuff like that. We're always asking, how's things going? And then we mostly focus on making delivery simpler and more scalable. And if you're wondering, like, okay, enough of your sales pitch, what do you actually do? So that looks like in practice is support across the four core areas you guys dealing with every day: cloud, voice, connectivity, and security. Our focus is on helping you protect margin, reduce complexity, and deliver services with confidence through pricing models, our beautiful platform, and processes designed to support long-term growth. Um, so today I've got Ben here, and we are going to talk about a very hot topic in the market, and then often lots of partners asking us about. It is the margin. So MSP playbook for connectivity. Off to you go, Ben.
Thanks, Cindy. Okay, hey guys. So we recently released a white paper for this, and we did a white space webinar last week on MSPs in conversation. So Cindy's right; it definitely is a bit of a topic for us at the moment. So this is kind of built around our white paper that we've released, and we'll send out a link to that. Guys, if you maybe Jesse or Gab, if you can stick it in the chat as well, if you want to follow along at home, but we'll send it out in a follow-up email as well if you haven't already seen it. But the topic today is really around, margin in a commodity market, right? So as Cindy said, the MSP playbook for connectivity. So reading from the slide, how to stop competing on price, start selling outcomes, and protecting margin that retail telcos, are, fundamentally trying to take from you. So there we go. Okay, so what's the problem with retail telcos? It's not that they're going direct. Fundamentally, it's what happens afterwards, right? So today we're going to be talking very much about that and the margin and things like that. And this is going to take about 20 odd minutes. We'll see how I go for time. There's only about 8 slides and we've already got through one. But the problem really starts afterwards, right? So if you're not offering connectivity and you're running an MSP business model, as all of our partners are, the post-sale burden is where things start to go wrong, right? So we're talking about if something goes wrong with that connection and another retail provider is providing it, your customer is calling you. You take the call, the escalation. You're responsible for managing that service. And most MSPs, while some do this, but most don't charge any extra for that, right? They're just kind of expected to take care of that. And that's very typical of end customers, right? They're dealing with you as their IT support. It's IT. So in those cases, you've got no margin to sort of cover absorbing those, the extra work from your tech team, any questions that the customer has around that sort of that service. But the next really big one, and we're seeing this more and more, is that telcos are moving further up the stack. They're directly competing with the MSP space, right? Let's look at Telstra Purple. We look at Spirit. We're seeing actually a few telcos actually, buying MSPs and, playing directly into that. So if the fundamental risk is that if you've got a retail telco, even if it's Telstra these days, Telstra Purple, in your customer's environment, you've now got a competitor sitting in there, right? They will eventually go up the stack if they haven't already, right? It's a foot in the door. It's a very easy foot in the door. MSPs have, traditionally used it as a foot in the door, and now telcos are using it as the foot in the door in the same way to sell other things like MSP services. When we look at things like public, TC4 pricing, when customers ask us to match it, and you do, you compress your own margin, right? You're only hurting yourself in that sense. But if you don't, and you do a like for like, you're putting it like if you let your retail customer go direct, then you're letting that broader MSP agreement and other services that you've got with them, you're putting them at risk, right? So that's kind of, the situation is how we see it. And we have this conversation quite regularly with partners. And so this today is a very short snapshot of what I would consider best practice, or, how to approach some of this. So the bottom line, as it says there, is that you're not going to win on bandwidth pricing. This isn't about speed. Technical, what do they say? Customers don't care about speeds and feeds. They care about business outcomes, which is what we're talking today. So speed, bandwidth is not the game to play. The conversation fundamentally needs to change. And so, if you wouldn't mind going to the next slide, what we talk about, and we talk a lot about this in MSPs in conversation, is about having a business conversation, not a price, but having a business conversation that fundamentally moves from selling internet to selling outcomes, business outcomes. Customers aren't buying speeds. Maybe they do care about speed, but fundamentally, they're buying productivity. They want that they're buying that internet connection to allow them to do what they do in their business, right? Now, what we see quite often that goes wrong is that it's sold just as an internet connection, right? It's not sold as a solution that meets a business outcome that they're trying to achieve, right? And so today, this is about sort of trying to change the focus and how you have that conversation with your customer. And so the first thing I often recommend, and this is what I say to our sales team when someone emails us through a quote, I say, how many staff are at that site? Because it's about the risk. We always start with risk. The reason being is that the bigger the site, the more risk there is, because, I've got a little example there, but if you've got 25 staff tethering mobiles because the internet goes out, and it will, right? I've got an example at the moment, Norwest Business Park, NBN's been out for a week, right? Not just us, everyone, and it's going to take them another week to repair. It's one of the largest business parks in Sydney. NBN's going to be out for potentially 2 weeks, right? So it does happen. They've got to send them home, or they're going to have to make them tether. I was actually in the business park yesterday, and it was a ghost town. Everyone had to work from home. So it does happen. And we all know that internet is critical, right? But if we're treating it as a commodity ourselves, our customers will as well, right? The MSP's role is fundamentally different to a retail telco, right? An MSP should be designing, integrating, aligning, I've got it there, aligning the risk, looking at the overall solution and having a solution-based conversation. Whereas retail telcos, they quote, they connect, and they leave, right? They mic drop, right? And they leave you with the burden to handle that. So there's a risk if you're letting your customer purchase those connections. Sometimes it's easier said than done, right? But with those customers, what I'm trying to say here is the customers that are larger, this isn't going to work with a one-man band. But if they have an MSP agreement with you, then it's likely that they are more mature, right? And the conversation that you can have with them is more aligned to this, right? So maybe not micro businesses as I've got there, but starting with a risk-based conversation is a very different approach versus straight to the bottom of the line, which is, cost. So not speeds, but what's the cost to your business if this goes down, right? That's kind of where I encourage partners to really focus on. What's that connection focusing on. And today we're not talking about voice or anything like that. We're just talking about the internet connection. So open with staff count, right? How many people are working from that site? Because that determines risk. And it's a very easy flow on from there. Get you to go to the next slide. And jump in if you think I'm crazy at all, Cindy. But
all the time, but that's okay.
Good, thank you. In our white paper, we talk about 4 customer-facing levers, right? This is where margin's protected. This is how hosted network helps, but this is how you can protect margin yourselves as well. The number one thing that I see we've got 300 and something MSPs under our books. The number one thing I see that goes wrong is that there is no standardization, right? Bundle, always bundle. Choose 3 types of hardware, right? Sizes of hardware, but from one vendor. All right. If you're a Unify shop, standardize on it, right? Your techs will thank you. Every time you do a quote, always quote best practice. Just make it a template, right? Quote a UTM, not a router, always a UTM. Always quote a failover service of a different medium. So like today, with the Norwest Business Park in Sydney, their NBN Enterprise Ethernet and their NBN TC4 is out, right? NBN is out in the whole area. So if they have a different carrier or if they have a different medium like 5G or 4G, that's the way to go. Let your customer say no in that sense. Give them options by all means, but try to standardize. Don't just send a quote out with a single line of NBN 100 by 40, away you go. Because then you're just racing to the bottom. And when something does go wrong, because it's not if, it's when, it's IT, it's why we exist, you're positioned to be that trusted advisor, right? You can at least sort of go back and go, well, hey, you chose to go down this route. Let's talk about this and see what we can do moving forward. And we're going to talk about that in a little bit. The next one, which I really encourage, this is still on point 1, but writing the stack, your stack into your MSA, right? So I see a bunch of our really mature partners do this, where they basically say that in their MSA, they have to have one of your standard stacks, one of your standard bundles, right? Not, if you've inherited a customer, I'm sure everyone has, they've got a different router out there, and all of a sudden your guys are supporting it. Maybe you're a Unify shop, maybe you're a Fortinet shop, standardize. It will it'll increase your margins very, very quickly. Not to mention you can self-spare and you can do things like that, right? If you're standardizing. Number 2, like I talked about before, is lead with that risk. Speed invites comparison. Risk is a better business conversation. The other piece of it is that around risk is that we can talk about the full stack, right? So when we talk about UTM and that edge layer of security, that is part of a overarching security stack. If you're, I'll use Sophos as an example. We're a disty for them, so little plug. They're going to have endpoint management, right? They're going to have edge security, the Sophos firewall or UTM. All of that telemetry goes into one single system, right? So it's a unified sort of single pane of glass. When you've got disparate solutions, you're adding more risk. So if the telco's in there and they've put a FortiGate in there, but it doesn't talk to anything that you've got, well, that's kind of, the left hand not talking to the right hand. It's adding in risk. So you can have a risk-based conversation with your customer about standardizing, right? It's more reason for them to go to you. You're already looking after everything else. You need that to be part of your ecosystem. Okay, next slide.
And I think I can add a little bit more on the bundle as well. Is I think everyone's been doing is really, really good. And then there's a lot of talk in different webinars, conferences in the last couple of years as well, is about bundling, right? Is a really simple example is you when you have a customer, you don't just sell them, hey, this is the one Microsoft license, like that's it. You're selling about email security, you're selling about backup and awareness training and you do the education, all those things bundled together, right? Because you want to look after the whole environment, the whole infrastructure and stuff like that. Exactly. Not just like, hey, this is Microsoft license and that's it. You're done. You got your email working, cool. So I think that tied back to this as well is, the importance of bundling. Yeah.
It's always when you're trying to do a webinar that someone knocks on the front door. 1 second, I'm gonna yell for my wife. Oh, no, they're going to have to stand there. All right. So number 3, operational efficiency. So this is about margin, right? And there are different things that we can do to actually, improve that margin. When I talk about operational efficiency, we look at this in the sense of the cost of sale, the cost of provisioning, the cost of support, all the way down to the cost of actually billing the service, right? Every time you touch something, it's got a cost associated to it. So again, this is a little plug for us, but use the tools that we provide you, right? This session is for our existing partners, right? If you're new, hey, we've got these tools, but if you're an existing partner, you've got access to them already and they're free, right? A great example is our rebilling tool. It integrates with whatever margin you put on directly into ConnectWise, Autotask. Halo actually went live today. I think there's an email going out about it later today or tomorrow. So that was built because we had a partner that had a fiber service and they didn't realize they weren't billing it for 2 years. So there's a risk with anything that you add, right? We just try to make that easier for you, right? But the more you touch these things, the higher the cost of whatever it is going to be is to you. You're burning your margin. So one area that I often see that new partners, if you're newer to connectivity or if you've got a new team member that don't leverage enough, is leaning on us, Hosted Network. All right. We've helped many partners win rate size deals, all the way up in the federal government by working with our solutions team. Right. We won't just treat it from we're going to treat it as we're going to guide you how to go through this, right? What questions to ask, how to size it, how to look after all of that from that side. So you can come to us and we don't charge for any of that, right? So those operational efficiencies, lean on the tools, lean on our team. It's a partnership. That's what we're there to help you. Now, number 4 is, own the relationship, right? Connectivity is, it's the linchpin. They kind of need it. If they've got an office, they're going to have it, right? If you own it, you put in on your brand, all of that sort of side, you're in a stronger, stickier, that's the term that often gets thrown around. You're more sticky than a retail telco. But if you've got a retail telco in there, they've got a foot in the door, right? There's an opportunity that they're all of a sudden meeting with them to upsell and things like that. So that's something that you really need to consider. But we're in the customer service game fundamentally, right? Where we provide a service to a customer because, we want to provide a good service. We want to provide a good outcome. If we're not being the trusted advisor and, we're not having this conversation with our customer, we're doing a disservice, right? So this is where we're going to sort of go into, and it's a couple of slides down. So I'll get you to the next one. How we go how you guys go head to head, right? So the goal of this slide is to help you picture yourself differently, right? Because if you're just selling it as standalone internet connection, you're going head to head, right? But fundamentally, you're offering a different service, which requires a different conversation. So as an example here, I'm going to read from the list, but everyone can do it as well. But retail telcos, they're having a price-led conversation and they're extremely transactional, right? Extremely transactional. They have no visibility into the IT environment, right? For your existing customers anyway, right? Or the security stack or the roadmap of that customer, what they're trying to do from a technology or a business. They're just quoting, connecting, and moving on. You have all of that knowledge, right? All that history, that sort of stuff. They have no real stake in the outcome because it is just an internet connection to them, right? It's not about keeping them necessarily online. It's about ticking some boxes and, winning the deal and moving on. It's not there to support your MSA agreement, which is there to keep them productive, keep their team, their IT systems functioning. They can't account for any of their security stacks. Yes, they might include a UTM or a hosted firewall or something like that, but it's in isolation. It's a great opportunity for you to sort of say, hey, well, no, you've got to follow our standard. This is why you've engaged us in the first place. That's why you're already in there, because they came to you for that. If you just go and quote a TC4 because that's what you think they want, right, without looking at it as a solution, then you've already lost. So they're selling a connection. You're selling the outcome of that connection working, right? If you've just got a connection in there, and I'm going to put a bit of a challenge out there. If you've got a basic connection in there and it's just a single site, a single connection, then, and you've got no failover, but you never quoted it as a failover or as a UTM, right? You're now the one at fault. And if we were in America, you'd probably get sued for something like that, right? Here, I would suggest that you be the trusted advisor. All right, we're going to talk and always quote that. Always lead with best and let them say no. You're in a better standing position if anything does go wrong. All right, next slide, and we'll get into a bit of a practical roadmap. So I always like to, with MSPs in conversation, I always try to give some like light bulb moments about what to actually do, because, you know, as vendors, we throw heaps of stuff at you guys and it's not always practical. So this is my attempt to sort of trying to break this into, 4 practical steps. So number 1 is just standardize your offerings. That will say, it'll make it easier to quote for you. It'll make it easier for your support team to support, and it'll be easier for you to sell, right? Your time to quote it is lower, but the whole piece of it is easier if you do that. If you don't have time, Hosted Network have a whole bunch of turnkey solutions ready to go, right? But I'd always recommend quoting a turnkey, like an actual solution versus just a single product. Number 2, train your team. If you've got a sales team, even your technical team, if they're doing quotes, sales admin, things like that, to ask that question. I see a lot of our partners have got sales admin teams, right? Like one person helping with quotes and things like that. And what often happens is the customer goes, oh, I've got a new site, I need an internet connection. And they just get a quote for, 100 by 40 or 50 by 20 or whatever it is, right? No one actually turns around and goes, well, hey, what are you doing at that site? What's the risk? How many staff are there? And if you just ask how many staff are there, you can identify risk, and the conversation flows so much more from there onwards. So,
and I think another thing is not just how many staff you have now, but what's your growth plan. I've heard
yes,
stories about, in WA, the mining companies, they started with 2 people and just blew me. In 3 years, they gone up to like 50 people and 100 people, right? And that's completely different solution compared to 2 people business. So what's their growth plan? That is something that you should ask about during your QBR wisdom, what they trying to do. So just want to add to that as well.
which is something I seem to have missed, but I have it in my notes. So we're going to talk about that as well here. Oh no, it's right in front of me. Never mind. So as a next step, audit your base for white space. We did a great MSPs in conversation last week on white space. So definitely, go back and watch that or share that around with your team if you haven't, to help them understand why you're doing it. Look for any client that is mature enough to have the conversation. So probably not like a one-man band, that is, you can have a risk-based conversation with them, right? Now, I'm not saying go pick up the phone and call them, but for anyone here that is ISO 27001 certified, you'll know all about risk registers, right? So add it to the customer's risk register. If you do a QBR or whatever you call it, an account planning catch up, put it somewhere so it sits on the list and the customer is aware of it. You don't have any redundancy at this site. You don't have a UTM on this site. You don't have a, whatever it might be, right? At least then they're aware, right? And then you've raised it. But once they're ready to action that, it's such an easy conversation. Each time you catch up, hey, do you want to address this, in the next quarter or whatever it might be? Which, if you're working with your client in terms of forward planning for their budgets and things like that, that changes that conversation. It's almost a no-brainer. So it changes it from a sales pitch to a documented risk. Now, if someone did that to you, it'd be a very different approach. It's like, hey, I'm just reminding you of what your risks are, right? And you're like, cool, yep, no worries. All right, you've told me that, but you remember it, right? We're all busy. And if I think of, all of our partners, I know how busy all you guys are, and your clients are the exact same, right? So it's hard for them to remember. So being a broken record doesn't hurt. Now, and then finally, number 4 is looking at those operational efficiencies. leveraging the hosted network team wherever you can, in terms of solutions design and things like that. If you're not sure where to start, let's jump on a call. We'll run you through. If you've got a new team member that is, a sales admin or whoever it might be, throw them our way. We'll help train and mentor them about how that works. Some of our highest performing partners, they basically forwarded us every single email, and it's like, hey, how do I tackle this? And we would coach and take them through that process, right? And in doing so, we're imparting that knowledge, right? So we know that we have to do that, but that's why we make it available for free for you guys. Use our tools, of course. That's why you're a hosted network partner in many cases. But a very low-hanging fruit is add it to your MSA. Now, that might be a harder play for existing customers, but it is something that you can easily do for your new customers. So when you get that next lead, it's just there from day one. That's how you operate. Cool. You're coming over to us from wherever you're coming from, or now you need MSP support. Amazing. Well, you've got to follow our standard. I'm sure you're all aligned to, a particular hardware vendor, be it, I don't know, Dell or HP or whoever it might be. Standardization down to your stack, including your internet bundle and how you approach that. It's the exact same thing. Cool. All right. Hopefully I'm a little bit over time, but well, I've only got one more slide. So
yeah. And then I think on the number 3, now is actually great timing because we now tomorrow is 1st of May. So only 2 months until end of financial year. Lots of companies, my husband working property consultant, so he's dealing with lots of clients and they are doing the budget now. They think about a new financial year. So this is actually great timing to talk about, to jump in and say, what's your budget for next year? So that you can plan the roadmap.
Yeah, what are you actually planning to do within your business? How have you and help them account their budget towards that. That's, separate to internet connectivity, that's just a great sales opportunity for you, not just new laptops and things like that, but potential projects and whatnot. But it also allows them to have realistic expectations, potentially allows you to align your internal resources, and it all starts with one easy conversation. Okay. What good looks like. So good looks like more margin for you, less margin burn, fewer support tickets, again, standardization, right? If the internet connection goes down, I'm in this building in Norwest, where we've got 3 partners along the same floor, right? Just in the same hall. I don't know why, but Norwest in Sydney is like the hotspot of MSPs in Sydney. But it was like a beehive of activity because they're all running around trying to help everyone else in the building, right? And in the end, most people have to go home. So that was a total distraction for their business. It's going to give you stronger client relationships, because if you're challenging them to think about a business conversation, from a business perspective, you're imparting knowledge to them as well. They're seeing more value in what you're providing, which provides a strong relationship, which if the stars align, turns into more referrals. So my challenge to you all, it's Thursday afternoon, don't do anything on the weekend or on a Friday, but jump into your PSA, try to flag some clients that without managed connectivity, and pick 3. Just 3 that you can document a risk at their next QBR. I've called it a QBR. I know that everyone likes to call them different things. It could be a monthly. Next time you catch up, put it on the document that you're using to track what you need to discuss with them, and leave it there. Right? Just pick 3. And then change the sales opening from, cool, what speed, to how many staff rely on this working. Very, very different sales conversation. And then again, that low-hanging fruit. Think about, I know this one's a little bit scary for some people, but if you can, review the MSA and put a standard stack in there for connectivity. They've got to have your firewall. They've got to have failover internet, whatever that might be. So yeah, that is
Amazing.
me.
Perfect. I love going to a webinar and end it with homework. I'm sure you all love it.
I never give anyone homework. I feel like yeah. So
No worries, Mr. Town. But I encourage you guys all try it and please give us some feedback once you try it. If you have run into roadblock or maybe one of these steps doesn't work for you, or if you got like, pushback from a customer, love to have a chat with you guys.
Have a look at the
All
white
right.
paper as well, just in terms of like reading
Great.
more about, because this is a bit of a summary, but the white paper goes into a bit more detail.
Awesome. And the link is just in the chat, so feel free to go have a look. All right, upcoming events. So next month's going to be very, very busy. So me, Ben, and Dave Vidos, our partner development manager, will be in Melbourne from the 11th to the 15th. So please put up a good weather in Melbourne for us. We'll be joining the Kaseya True Method Pier and then the IT Nation involved. So if you are going, please feel free, come and say hi, grab a beer or beers, or maybe like too much beer. Who knows? Uh,
Tell me that your
and
homework was done.
exactly, and tell me your like, come and tell me your homework is done. I'll grab you like 3 beers. And if you haven't done, you have to buy me 3 beers. So pretty, good deal. And the next event is on 3rd of June. We'll be at Catalyst event in Sydney Swan HQ, and I will jump in quickly later, tell you about what is Catalyst. Okay, the next one, we are having a promotion for FlexiFiber, still doing the 3 months free for 36 months term and 4 months free for 48 months term. So if you have any new connections, this is a great opportunity to jump in.
You'll see that in the partner port, and if you do a service qualification, go back to our tooling,
Yep.
you'll see that,
Yep.
right? And so that's there's definitely more margin in that as well for you guys, whether you pass on that promo to your customer or you pocket it. It's
Exactly. And then I will show you a little bit exciting upcoming things about Partner Portal. All right, so what is Catalyst? So I want to give a quick shout out to an event really, really worth putting in your calendar, 3rd of June, guys, 3rd of June. So it is a full day event in Sydney. It is designed and built for MSP owners and IT leaders who want honest, practical conversations about scaling a modern IT business. Honestly, the sessions cover from like cyber claims, offshoring, founder-led sales transitioning, M&A is really like sort of hot topic at the moment, and what it actually takes to lead the MSP in 2026. Tickets are $95 ex GST, but that 100% goes to play it forward. Great event, sharp the value, is on a good course. Gab just posted the link in the chat, and you can scan the QR code. We would love to see you there.
Gonna jump in as well. I can see a couple of people that I know are regularly on MSPs in Conversation. This is very much an MSPs in Conversation just in person. And I'll also be doing MSPs in Conversation, hosting it live from there. So maybe I can get a few of you guys on there to get some get you on camera. So if you're interested in attending, please register. Please hit us up with any questions. But yeah, we're really excited to be organizing it. So.
Absolutely. All right, next up is the FlexiFiber. So we just touched a little bit on it earlier. So if you're wondering like who is Flex? What is FlexiFiber? So it's Host Network's exclusive fiber service. It's offering symmetrical speed up to 10 gig for enterprise grade connectivity in Sydney and Melbourne CBD area. So if you have a address you want to search, please go to the portal, service qualification, and that will show straight away. But this is a great opportunity. Next up, it is the partner portal. So Ben mentioned earlier the Halo PSA integration. It is now live for rebilling. Halo PSA has been one of the most popular PSA. People been asking.
Requested, that's for sure.
You requested, yeah, exactly. So it took us, almost 6 months to make it, sort of finalized and stuff like that. We, jump on the call with a couple partners who's using it, sort of getting feedback how they're actually using it and how that works for them. So now it's live. If you do need a meeting or, with Matthew Wood, who is our solution engineer, to get it set up, feel free to reach out to us. We'd love to jump on the call. New partner portal coming soon. Okay, this is exciting. And then I will show you guys a little bit of sneak peek, the next slide as well. I haven't even seen it. And one of the feature I've been asking for a very, very long time. I'm so excited for it, and you will soon know what it is. The next one is bandwidth utilization graphs for on-net fiber services. Ben, do you want to quickly talk about this one?
Yeah, look, we're adding in a bunch of extra graphing and things like that into the portal. So there's some more advanced features. There's been an overhaul of our monitoring services in there as well. So which we didn't actually mention there. So you're going to say anything that's been graphed, like our IC, like up-down monitoring that's in the portal, that's been improved. Like service utilization's been improved. So yeah, check that out. If you've got like EEs, FlexiFiber, EAs, all that sort of stuff as well. So just giving you guys more visibility. So, if you see high latency or whatever, you can see what that might be causing it. It's not mentioned there, but even things like, I think ICMP, like up-down monitoring, is now available for TC4 CG NAT services as well. A little bit that's been requested by a few people, but don't hold me to that one. So, and I can see David on the call. I think there's a couple of things that you've requested, David, as well. So if you've got feedback that of things that you'd like to see, please let us know as well. Our partner portal is entirely feedback driven. So if you guys need it, let us deliver it, let us know, and we'll try and make it happen.
Amazing. Okay, now drum roll, guys. This is a sneak peek of the new partner portal. Ta-da! And why I was so excited is because we are going to have dark mode. I know, right? Like dark mode, like, so I don't even know where to start, but I'm so excited for it. But of course, we have other really cool thing happening as well. This is going to be alive in the next couple of months, or probably sooner. But keep an eye out. And if you guys have any feedback, please let us know. But so excited for the dark mode. All right, cool.